Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning back in. I just wanted to make a quick video touching on a few different things. The main thing here first is going to be talking about the markets, kind of that ending diag that we discussed in the last video, and kind of take a shot at what the indicators are telling us today, where we may be headed. I know, today the bulls came out to play. And so on days like today, everybody seems, euphoric and we're out of this bear market. But we'll kind of discuss that in a little bit more detail. There's a couple bits of news that I can just briefly touch on, and then there's kind of an interesting add-on for PT that has been on the market for a little while. It's called PT-CoPilot or Profit Trailer Copilot. It's created. It's on the website digitaltradingsoftware.com. We can touch on this a little bit later in the video, so we'll talk about that in some detail in a little bit. But long story short, we're definitely seeing some nice price action in a lot of these coins. If you're using Profit Trailer, where you're doing some day trading, yesterday night and into this morning was, some great buying opportunities. And today you have some great selling opportunities. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing. We're seeing some serious profit taking in a lot of these altcoins. We're not necessarily headed straight down. I don't like CoinMarketCap's sort of price graph, data very well. So we'll just kind of dig into the ending diag that we have here. So kind of what I'm looking at is this volume. This is what's kind of faking me out, right? So we discussed this in the last video, saying that this contracting this ending diag here, for this to be true, these individual waves need to be a zigzag formation, right? They can't be impulsive. That's just the way that the LA theory kind of lines up. And we discussed this in the last videos. This 5 wave, generally speaking, will overshoot this lower trend line here. And I kind of pegged this somewhere around 5,200 or somewhere in that range. But this is one of the unique sort of Elliott wave formations in this ending diag here, where we can actually undershoot, we can overshoot, and it's still valid. So what I said in the last video was it's very possible that this could be the bottom, right? Like, we don't know for sure. Where does the risk reward factor, where are the indicators telling us that this bottom may be in? And one of the indicators that is kind of showing me, or that may be kind of faking me out, is I kind of expect this to come down. More often than not, you'll see an overshoot in this ending diag formation. And generally speaking, you'll see it a little bit closer to this trend line, but that doesn't make this invalid. What I'm seeing here is this very impulsive volume spike here in the bullish manner, right? And something that's kind of interesting is we haven't really seen that in these previous endings, right? The volume just got sucked up dry. And even in our ascent up to this 8,500, the volume really didn't show up until a few days later. And you can kind of get an idea of where that bottom may be in with this volume spike. And so that's something that I'm keeping an eye on. The last time we really saw a significant volume spike at a bottom was back here at our original bottom, right before we hit that, or right after we hit that 20K, and we kind of jumped all the way down to this 5,800 level. We saw a massive volume spike here, bullish volume. And then back in this direction, this is where we're seeing it. And there is some nice bull volume here. So this could just be a dead cat bounce, kind of a fake out. That would kind of be consistent with an A, B, C wave down. So that's something that's still on my radar. Another thing that I'm looking at significantly here is this pattern that we're seeing play out here. So we had this bottom at about 57.85. I think Bitfinex called this the ultimate bottom was at 58.58, if I'm not mistaken. And this recent bottom that we hit yesterday or the day before was at about 58.85. So technically speaking here, we're at a higher low. And that could be a great sign. This could be the ultimate bottom. We need to hold this as support, though. We can't dip below this previous bottom. And that's something I'm going to keep an eye out on. And then, in the days to come or weeks to come, we need to break through this upper resistance line and then ultimately close above this 85 to form a higher high and really give us that definitive proof that, hey, this actually was an ending diag and we may be out of this bearish trend. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. The daily MACD seems to be going flat, going horizontal, which could be indicating in sometime in the near future that, you know, we may be getting a bullish cross here, and that would indicate, you know, obviously a bullish sentiment there. But, you know, we're still unsure. There's nothing that says that this can't just continue down. And, you know, this was just our A wave, our B wave, and then our C wave down to 52. So it's very difficult to tell. We also have the Ichimoku cloud pulled up on screen here. But, you know, no need to really dig into it much further than that. If you didn't buy yesterday at the bottom, for me, this is an iffy time right here. Because yeah, sure, the bullish volume could continue rising, and you know, ultimately, you know, we'll test this resistance line, we'll test the 8,500 mark, and that's when I'll be, you know, fairly confident that we're more or less out of this ending diag, and we're sort of out of this bearish trend. But yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to touch on here is there's definitely some uncertainty, and then we also have to remember the news coming out with the ETF in September. I'm not going to be surprised if it gets denied, if an ETF gets denied. I've heard a lot of people talking about the most recent ETF that was approved was the copper ETF, and that was, you know, only, you know, 5 or 10 years ago or so, and that metal has been around for ages, and that was a very you know, solid marketplace before. Bitcoin is still relatively new, and, you know, copper has been around years and years and years. So that's, to me, it signifies, I won't be surprised if an ETF gets denied, and I'm not going to be bearish because it does get denied, but I think the market sentiment as a whole, if it does get denied, will ultimately be pretty bearish. And I think that's just the way that the markets work. So, we may end up, you know, seeing another downtrend, or we may hover in this time frame here, all the way out to September. That would be really difficult for me, because that ending wave here, this 3 wave should be the longest wave at about 50 days. And if we moved all the way out to September 30th, 31st, or 30th, I guess I would say, that'd be a 68-day 5 wave, which shouldn't happen. So we'll you know, there's a lot of factors at play here, and that's something that I'm going to kind of keep daily updating you guys on that. So let's get into the news. So this is pretty interesting to me. This has to do with the taproot privacy for Bitcoin. So that's kind of interesting to me, kind of going down the route of you know, integrating some privacy. I'm not super tech, you know, the Bitcoin code savvy, so I don't really want to like dig into that too much, but I know about the Shore protocols that they're trying to implement. That'll be pretty interesting. I know one does not go necessarily without the other, but this is interesting. I would give this article a read here. Bitcoin's privacy is pretty abysmal. That's how they lead off this article. But you know, they're working on integrating this as well. So read this if you have a chance. There's a couple other things. This wasn't even the main one I wanted to touch on, but I thought this was really interesting. Insurance Ratings Bureau pilots IBM blockchain for automatic reporting. This is really interesting to me because big time firms, big time government bureaus are, you know, experimenting with blockchain, and that is something that we haven't really seen much of before, I would say 2017, 2018, right? Or you didn't really hear about it. And this is really, really interesting. This is good news. This is all bullish news. You can give this one a read too. There's a couple other things. This messaging giant Line launches a $10 million token venture fund. Venezuela is going to peg their pension salary systems to cryptocurrency. So like a lot of bullish news coming out. There's definitely some FUD still, but a lot of these articles, you know, this is just the CoinDesk homepage. I just came here before the video and saw some interesting headlines, and you know, I recommend giving some of these a read because personally, I like to look into these these business related ones or the government related ones. I think those are really interesting, and I think those are good reads. And especially when they give an idea of these big, massive institutions coming in, and not only to just buy crypto, but to use it and have a true utility, a use case. So that's cool. The next thing I want to get into real briefly here is the PT-CoPilot. And this is basically a web GUI that you can edit your settings on. And I know PT just released version 2.1, which basically does this already. But this could be an interesting add-on for you, as you know, if you're using PT Feeder. Feeder does not have a web GUI. So this is something that could be pretty handy to some of the people in our community. So I figured I would just give a shout out. I don't have an affiliate link. You can go to this website. You can check it out for yourself. By all means, go ahead and you know, do your own research on this product. But I know that I've been getting some questions about this in my Discord saying, what is PT-CoPilot? You know, is it worth getting? And I know that it's a relatively cheap investment here. I think it's either $12 a month or $100 for a lifetime license. And just to keep everybody completely informed, is I'm not sure what's happening. You know, I know PT launched their web GUI where you can edit settings and stuff. And Feeder has been rumored to be working on something like this, but for the time being, this is the only way to edit settings via a web GUI for Feeder. So if you're, you know, in a bind and you want to edit some settings on the go or whatever, this could be an interesting product for you. So I definitely recommend checking that out if that's you. If not, then, you know, that's not for you. This is their this is the GitHub, and you can check this out, and they have instructions and stuff here. And you can take a look at that. But let's go back here. I wanted to touch on one other thing, which was Defender as well. So today, I made a video a couple days ago, and we were at 0. We were in waiting for buy for both of these. And today, with this recent pump, my bags were just straight buying and selling all day because we were just running through the market. And I mean, some of these coins were up 20-30% today. And so with Defender, I got 42% over the past couple of days through my ADA bag. I recovered 0.0217. And remember, these were big bags. You know, these were thousands of dollars worth of these coins in pretty negative positions. So you know, you're not going to see a 0.02 recovered amount if you're working with a bag worth $100. But just keep that in mind that you know, it's working, right? Like this is, you know, I just wanted to give an update because everybody in my Discord is continually asking, you know, does this work? So, yeah, I mean, these are the two coins I'm running right now, OMG and ADA. I got 36% through OMG, 0.00893 through 4 rounds. And then granted, I'm using, shoot, I don't even have Profit Trailer pulled up. I'm using different buying strategies throughout this bull market, and I wanted to kind of touch on those settings in a later video. So I'll be coming out with that. But basically in a bullish setting, what I'm doing is I'm using these EMA gain. I don't want to use EMA gain. I want to use this, and I'll give you guys an idea of what I'm doing. So let's say this is 15. In a bullish trend, I've talked about this before. I'm using quicker time frames, and I'm gonna have to make this quick because this video is gonna end real soon. So I'm using quicker time frames, and in these bullish upswings, you can see the fast crossing over the slow line. So this is the fast line, and if I can do this quick, this is the fast line that crosses over the slow. And what I'm doing is I'm using EMA cross, and so I'm using a cross candle of like 1 or 2, and we'll buy in this region here, somewhere in this area, and I'll take part in a lot of these gains. And so, you know, the past couple of days I've been seeing, or the past day or so, I've been seeing some pretty good results with this EMA cross. And it works out well when I'm using feeder because, feeder is constantly checking the market conditions, the coin specific conditions, and then switching my buying strategies over to, EMA cross. And then in a bearish trend, I'm using, low BB or whatever. But with that said, I'll catch you on the next video.